Alright, boys and girls, welcome to our video extra, an extra special presentation on solving double angles and multiple angles in trigonometry. Okay, let's look at this first one here. We got sine x is equal to 1/2, and then more importantly, we got over here sine of 2x is equal to 1/2. Okay, one thing a lot of you guys want to do on this side here is divide both sides by 2. No, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. Sine 2x divided by 2 is not sine x. So let's just think about sine x is equal to 1/2. We know that sine is positive, so that's the first quadrant. It's also going to be the second quadrant, but we can think right now in the first quadrant. Here's our first quadrant triangle. Sine of x is 1/2, so this must be 1. This must be 2, and this would be root 3. This angle x right here, that's this angle right here. Okay, that must be 30. So x is equal to 30 because sine of 30 is equal to 1/2. Also now in the second quadrant, I'll draw a second quadrant triangle. Sine of x is also equal to 1/2 in the second quadrant, positive. This would be 2, this would be 1, and this would be root 3. Here's my reference angle, and my angle x is this angle right here. In the second quadrant, this would be 150. So sine of x equals 1/2. X must equal 30 and 150. Now let's think about sine of 2x. So let's go to this next slide. Sine of x is equal to 1/2. We got our two answers right here. The first one right here, x is 30. Our second answer right here, x is 150. We know that sine is positive in the first quadrant, and again in the second quadrant. Sine, of course, is negative in the third and the fourth quadrants. When we think about sine of 2x is equal to 1/2, our sine curve is going to get squished by a factor of 2, so we're going to have twice as many answers. So the first two answers are the same. We have sine of x equals 1/2. That's going to be that's going to be 30 right there. Sine of x is equal to 1/2. We also have 150. That's right there. But now we're going to have two more answers here and there. So let's figure out how we're going to solve those. Okay, so we know sine of x is 1/2. X is equal to 30, or x is equal to 150. We're going to do the same exact thing over here on the right-hand side, except that now it's not sine of x, it's sine of 2x. So 2x is equal to 30, or 2x is equal to 150. Now let's think about how we're going to write this in our general solution form. So we're going to take that 30 and we're going to add our period 360n. We're going to take our 150 and add 360n. And now we're going to divide both sides by 2. So on this top one, we're going to divide everything by 2. So I get x is equal to 15 plus 180n. So we're going to keep adding 180 until we get to our range 0 to 360. So I have 15 plus 180. I also have 195. Down here, I'm going to do the same thing. Divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. So I get x equals 75 plus 180n. So I'm going to have an answer of 75, and I'm going to add 180. I get let's see 180. That's going to be 265, and I'm going to have 4 answers. And as we could see in our last slide, there were 4 answers. If I add 180 one more time, I'm now over 360. If I add 180 to either of those, I'm over 360. Okay, if I want to solve the same equation in radians, I can do that. On the first one, sine x equals 1/2. X is equal to pi over 6. Pi over 6, of course, is 30. And x is also equal to 5 pi over 6. because 5 pi over 6 is equal to 150. I'm going to do the same thing here on the right hand side, but now I'm going to do it with 2x. So 2x is equal to pi over 6. 2x is equal to 5 pi over 6. I'm now going to add my period, which is 2 pi, and the n, plus 2 pi n. And now I'm going to divide everything by 2. And on the first one here, I have x. Let me change colors. X is equal to pi over 6 divided by 2 is pi over 12. And 2 pi n divided by 2 is pi n, so plus pi n. Down here, I'm going to have x is equal to 5 pi. I'm going to divide everything by 2. So I have x is equal to 5 pi over 6 divided by 2 is 5 pi over 12 plus pi n. So what I'm going to do here, so x is equal to pi over 12. And I'm going to add pi to that. Well, 12 pi over 12 is also pi, so my next answer is 13 pi over 12. I also had x is equal to 5 pi over 12, and add 12 pi over 12 to that. I'm going to get 17 pi over 12. Okay, let's look at this next one right here. Cosine x is equal to negative 1/2. Okay, we know that cosine is negative in the second and third quadrants. So I'm going to draw a second quadrant triangle right here. Okay, I'm looking for this angle, but this, of course, that's my x, but this is my reference angle right here. The cosine is negative 1 over 2. This would be root 3, and this, of course, this angle right here, of course, is 60. So x is equal to 120, because if this is 60 right here, this would be 120. So I got my third quadrant triangle right here, where this is going to be neg 1. This, of course, is 2. This, of course, is neg root 3. Not that that matters, because we're dealing with the cosine. This angle, of course, is 60. So my angle that I'm solving for is going to be 180 plus 60, which is 240. So x equals 240. We can now see that those are my two answers. Let's go to the next slide. Looking at this, I can see now cosine x equals negative 1/2. Negative 1/2 is right here. My first answer was in the second quadrant. That was 120. My second answer in the third quadrant, x is 240. Okay. If I go to cosine 4x though now, my cosine curve gets squished by a factor of 4. So I have 4 times as many curves, 0 to 360. So I'm going to have actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 answers, where cosine x is equal to negative 1/2. So I know that cosine x is equal to neg 1/2. X is equal to 120, or x is equal to 240. I'm going to do the same thing on this side, but now I don't have x, I have 4x, so 4x is equal to 120. I'm going to add my period, 360n. I'm also going to have 4x is equal to 240 plus 360n. I'm going to switch colors to blue. I'm going to divide everything this time by 4. So when I do that, I get x is equal to 120 divided by 4, which is 30, plus 90n. My new period now is 90, 360 divided by 4. Down here, I'm going to have divide by 4, divide by 4, divide by 4. X is equal to 240 divided by 4 is 60, plus 360 divided by 4 is 90n. So my answers, I'll write these up top in red. My answers up here are going to be 30 plus 1 plus 90 is 120, plus 90 is 210, plus 90 is 300. If I added the 90 one more time, I'd be at 390, and that's too far. I don't want to go beyond 360, so get rid of that one. Okay, and now I also have down here at the bottom, I have 60 plus 90 is 150, plus 90 is 240, doing the math here in my head, plus 90 again is 330. If I add 90 again, I'd be at 420, and once again, too far, get rid of him. All right, let's do it in radians. So, cosine x is equal to -1/2. I know that x in radians is going to be 120 is I'm thinking here 2 pi over 3. X is also equal to 240, which is going to be 4 pi over 3. We do the same thing on the right, but this time I'm not solving for x, I'm solving for 4x. So 4x is equal to 2 pi divided by 3. Add my period, which is 2 pi n. 4x is equal to 4 pi over 3 plus 2 pi n. Switch colors to purple. Divide everything by 4. Okay, so x now is equal to 2 pi over 3 divided by 4 is 2 pi over 12, which is pi over 6. 2 pi n divided by 4 is pi over 2n. Down here I have x is equal to 4 pi over 3 divided by 4 is pi over 3 plus pi over 2n. So my answers up top are going to be x is pi over 6. I now need to add a half a pi of that. So I'm going to basically add 3 pi over 6, which is a half pi. So 1 pi plus 3 pi is 4 pi over 6. Plus 3 pi is 7 pi over 6. Plus 3 pi again is 10 pi over 6. I'm going to run out of room here, but pi over 6 is pi over 6. 4 pi over 6 is 2 pi over 3. 7 pi over 6 is 7 pi over 6. And 10 pi over 6 is 5 pi over 3. Down here at the bottom, I'll do this in purple. Up top here on the left, I have pi over 3 plus a half a pi, which we're going to do in terms of 6 is 3 pi over 6. So pi over 3 is 2 pi over 6 plus 3 pi over 6 is 5 pi over 6. Plus half a pi again is 3 pi over 6, which is 8 pi over 6. Plus 3 pi over 6 again is 11 pi over 6. This already here is in simplest form. 11 pi over 6. 5 pi over 6 is in simplest form. Pi over 3, of course, is in simplest form. And 8 pi over 6 can become 4 pi over 3. So there are my 4 more answers. Okay, why don't we look at this last one? I'm going to have you guys do it on your own. But sine x is equal to negative root 3 over 2. We know our two answers are going to be in the third and fourth quadrants because sine is negative in the third and fourth quadrants. Sine x equals root 3 over 2 is 60. So, again, if I draw a third quadrant triangle, this is going to be negative root 3. This is 2, and this is 1. So this angle right here is going to be 180 plus 60. This angle right here is 660, so x equals 240. And in the fourth quadrant, Here's my fourth quadrant triangle. This, of course, is neg root 3. This is 2, and this is 1. This angle right here is 60. So I need to go around. I got 180 plus 90 more is 270 plus 30 is 300. So x is also equal to 300. Okay, you guys are now going to solve this for 3x though. 3x is equal. Remember, looking at this now, my first two answers for sine x is equal to negative root 3 over 2. I had 240 right there, 300 right there. But now when I have sine 3x, my sine curve is going to be squished by a factor of 3, so I have 3 times as many answers. And you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go ahead and solve those both in degrees and radians. Okay, x equals 240 and 300 for sine x equals negative root 3 over 2. In radians, that's 4 pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. When we got to divide everything by 3, we get x equals 80, 200, and 320. And then 100, 220, and 340. Okay, and we get that by adding 120 each time, 360 divided by 3. In radians, that's 4 pi over 9, 10 pi over 9, 16 pi over 9, 5 pi over 9, 11 pi over 9, and 17 pi over 9. Notice that we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different answers. That's it, folks. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.